Hello, and welcome to another Rouge unit of the week. And today we're taking a look at the Cromwell Mark V. The Cromwell is one of the later designs of the British cruiser tank doctrine. Pretty much smaller, lighter, faster tanks used for cavalry operations such as the classic Crusader tanks in North Africa. Cromwell would go through quite a lengthy design and testing phase. Pretty much it was a standard boxy tank, not exactly the most sexiest vehicle out here, but it had the rather iconic Christie suspension system and a rather powerful Rolls-Royce Meteor engine providing 600 horsepower, allowing the tank to, well, book it. Early models of the Cromwell would be fitted with a 6-pounder, but due to the inadequate high explosive capabilities of the 6-pounder, the need for tanks to not just blow up other tanks. Most of the time tanks are blowing up infantry and structures. It ended up equipping it with a 75mm gun. The 75mm gun is actually just a 6-pounder which has been bored out to 75mm to allow firing of the American 75mm shell, like with the Sherman. It would first enter service in 1944, seeing action during the Battle of Normandy and throughout the entirety of the Western European campaigns. They would be attached to pretty much a lot of British armour divisions. However, the Sherman was a more numerous tank and actually saw more service in the Cromwell at this point. In my opinion, the Sherman was just the better tank. The Cromwell was a bit more of a basic design, like it had riveted armor, for Christ's sake. For those who don't know, riveted armor isn't exactly the best armor protection scheme, as if the rivets, well, if they get shot out by high explosive shells, for example, they can get loose and it kind of destroys the entire armor integrity of the tank. However, in the grand scheme of things, it pretty much performed just fine. Its main shortcoming was the lack of armor penetration power, when dealing with more of the heavier German tanks, and so they'd end up coming up with the Comet tank, which basically was just a Cromwell armed with a 77mm high velocity gun, which was just a modified 17-pounder. In game, the Cromwell Mark V is a 50-point medium tank, available to the British 6th Airborne and the 1st Polish Armoured Division. It has 2 weapons. So you have the standard 75mm cannon with 24 AP shells and 40 high explosive shells, 90mm of penetration, 45% accuracy, 1.5 kilometer range, a rather standard 6 rounds a minute. It's a 75mm cannon. It's pretty decent at dealing with infantry targets, as you have a whole heap of HE shells and decent amount of high explosive damage, and just enough AP to deal with other medium tanks at a more closer range. Then you got 2 machine guns. Down to miscellaneous set, you have 70mm of frontal armor, strong top armor, 35mm at side, and on the back you go 45km off-road, 63km on the road, medium stealth, and very low optics. So, in battle, the Cromwell Mark V is a pretty cheap, but for the price, actually very decent light tank. All it really is just a worse Sherman. You don't have as much armor, you don't have the 50 caliber machine gun, you don't have as much ammunition, or that's not really an issue with tanks like these, because they die before running out of ammo. However, you are a little bit faster, which does help out quite a bit. And all of this for 30 points less. That's a pretty damn good deal. And with it being a medium tank, it can deal with the variety of threats on the battlefield, just as long as there's not a whole heap of heavy armor. Good for cheap infantry support, good for cheap anti-armor support. The mobility can be extremely useful, especially in the early game, to get it to the front line before other enemy tanks get here, and also just be able to flank around. This is an extremely good tank for 1v1s, as it price really fits in quite well with the meta. In both decks, and it's available to the Poles and the British Airborne, it is definitely, I'd say, a must-take tank. For the 6th Airborne, you don't exactly have a whole lot of tank slots available, and this is really your only proper medium tank you can get. But getting 10 of these guys in B phase definitely helps out quite a bit for the rather lackluster armor within the division. And the Poles, oh god, they get 2 cards of these bad boys. With 8 of them in A phase, 16 in B, and 24 in C phase, it is a ridiculous amount of tanks. You take 1 A phase card, 1 B phase card, your medium tank requirements are pretty much good. They're great in the opening, like I said, so buying a handful of these guys to get to the point and to apply pressure on the enemy proves to work really bloody well. Overall, the Cromwell Mark V is just the Western Allied version of the T-34-76, a cheap medium tank which you can spam really bloody efficiently. But this one's fast, quite bloody fast. And well, I'm going to leave it off at that. It's been another Run Rouge Unit of the Week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as usual, please just take it easy.